Even though I'm going to be talking just exclusively about the AFC today, I want to make it very clear that the Green Bay Packers are still the greatest team in the entire world, and go Pack Go. Grossi Posse Packer Nation! Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I am Thomas Xavier Grossi, and today we're going to be wheeling around the AFC Playoff Predictions and taking a look at the AFC Playoff picture and who I think are going to be the top 6 teams that are going to represent the AFC. But before we get to that, we got 2 shout-outs from 2 brand new sexy-ass Patreons. And the first one is Mr. Zachary Southers for joining the Matt Flynn for the win tier. A big thank you to you, Mr. Southers. And then we have another brand new Patreon, Sam Nowazewski. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but thank you very much joining the tier of I'm not a Packer fan, but here's money time. That's not the official title, but it might as well be. So a big thank you to both of you, and go on to patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy for some cool rewards if you want to support me over there. Also, a reminder, I will be streaming the Vikings versus the Seahawks tonight on YouTube and also on the Hot Mic app. You can check out the Hot Mic app and download it. It is completely for free. Use the promo code Grossi as it is invite only. It syncs up the TV with my commentary so you don't gotta listen to any terrible commentators. And yeah, you still keep all the game sounds and people seem to really enjoy it. It is coming out for Android soon, I am told. So check that out. Now, let's jump down to the AFC playoff picture and start with those teams that are in the hunt. Yeah, that's right. And so these are the teams that are on the verge of making the playoffs, but most likely won't. But let's go and take a gander here. The first one being the Browns, which, yeah, I'm not going to spend really any time on them. Yeah, they have 7 losses. They just lost to the Steelers, who have literally nobody playing on their football team. They called me up and they were like, hey, Tom, can you play QB? And I was like, nah, bruh, I got to stream. And they're like, all right, fair point. And they still lost. They still lost, and they have to play the Ravens still. They're going to get to 8 losses. That's not enough to be in the playoffs. So, yeah, we're not even going to go through every game with the Browns because you're not making the playoffs. Sorry. Maybe you shouldn't have had shirts made, you freaking douches. Then we have the 6-6 Indianapolis Colts, who have a shot. They have a shot at making the playoffs here. Their final 4 games, they have the Buccaneers, in which I think they will get a win. Then they have the Saints, which I think they will lose to. The Panthers, they should get a win. And the Jaguars, they should get a win, bringing their final record over to 9-7. But because the Steelers own the tiebreaker over them, I think there's a good shot that the Steelers wind up going 9-7 as well, and they would be beaten out. Therefore, the Colts will not be getting a wild card spot in this scenario. Then you have the 6-6 Oakland Raiders, who have just been embarrassed the past couple weeks, which, I mean, like, I had a little bit of hope for them. They had that really nice win over the Chargers in Oakland, and everyone was like, oh my God, that's so nice. And since, yeah, there hasn't been really some nice play from them. So right now they're sitting at 6-6. I see them losing to the Titans, and then winning against the Jaguars, winning against the Chargers, and winning against the Broncos, bringing them to 9-7. However, the Steelers, who I think are also going to finish 9-7, they win out over the Raiders. They beat them on the tiebreaker based on win percentage in common games. And so because of that, I don't think the Raiders are going to make the playoffs as well, unless they can come away and potentially beat the Titans and just get a better record than the Steelers, which is always possible. Then, speaking of the Titans, you got the 7-5 Tennessee Titans, which, again, I can't predict anything that's going to happen, so everything I'm about to say here is probably completely inaccurate. But let's go for it anyway. So, their next game they have against the Raiders, which I think they will pull out a win. I think they'll lose to the Texans, lose to the Saints, and then lose to the Texans again. Those last 3 games are pretty damn rough for them. So I see them finishing 8-8 and just missing out on the playoffs. But Ryan Tannehill's been playing pretty well. Who knows? Maybe they can steal one from the Texans there. Then, starting to get into your number 6 seed, I have your Pittsburgh Steelers coming away and finishing at 9-7, sneak it into the wild card here. Just because they have a pretty okay schedule. They got a game against the Cardinals coming up next, which I think they will win. I feel like they'll lose against the Bills, they'll win against the Jets, and then they will lose against the Ravens, finishing 9-7. And just because they own the tiebreakers over the Colts and the Raiders, they'll be able to sneak in. But again, if the Raiders or Colts are able to win one more game, then you might see either one of these teams swap back in there for them. I don't think the Steelers are going to go very far, considering how beat up their team is. But, you know, the defense, they've been scrappy, and they can earn one. That's fine. Then the number 5 seed, I got the Buffalo Bills, who are sitting at 9-3 right now. That's right, Bills Mafia, I got you in the playoffs. I feel like they got a little bit of a tough schedule ahead, another half and half. I feel like they're going to lose against the Ravens, they'll win against the Steelers, they'll lose to the Patriots, and they will win against the Jets, finishing 11-5 on the season. And so while this will be a very respectable record, and the Bills, they could cause some problems potentially in the playoffs. Obviously, they manhandled the Cowboys, which, is not saying much at this point in the season. But, hey, listen, Bills, you guys go on a run. You go for it, buds. You go for it. Then, the number 4 seed, I have the Kansas City Chiefs, who are currently 8-4. They have a pretty beneficial schedule to finish up the year. I feel like the Chiefs have a chance to win out the rest of their games. They got to play against the Patriots, who... Listen, if the Patriots show up like they did last night or don't show up like they did last night against the Texans, they're going to get beat next week. I feel like it's a win against the Broncos, a win against the Bears, and a win against the Chargers, which will bring them to 12-4. But I have the Texans finishing above them just because the Texans own the tiebreaker over them for beating them earlier this season. But I have the Chiefs winning their division and, of course, making it into the playoffs. Then the number 3 seed, I got your Houston Texans, who are currently 8-4, and I see them winning out as well. They got games against the Broncos, the Titans, the Bucks, and the Titans. All winnable games for them. I think that they could finish 12-4 pretty easily. And again, they just hold that tiebreaker over the Chiefs. And so with this, it would be the Texans versus the Bills for the first round, the wild card round, and then you have the Chiefs versus the Steelers. There are worse games. And then your number 1 and number 2 seed. The number 2 seed, I have your New England Patriots, who are currently sitting at 10-2. I see them. I think they're going to lose against the Chiefs next week. I think they'll beat the Bengals. I think they'll just beat the Bills, and they'll come away with the win with the Dolphins. And so while they will, they'll still finish in this scenario 13-3. That will be not enough to get to the number 1 seed, which means that most likely they'll be taking a trip to Baltimore if they get out of the divisional round, even if they make it that far. And who knows, maybe the Bills will upset them and they could just steal the number 2 spot, which would just be delicious. And then number 1, you have the current reigning, defending number 1 seed after last night, the Baltimore Ravens. After coming off a great win against the San Francisco 49ers, they are sitting at 10-2. I feel like they're going to win out. They're going to have a tough game against the Bills, but I think they'll get it done. Then I got the Jets, Browns, and Steelers. They should be able to walk through those last ones. But hey, they lost to the Browns earlier this year, finishing at 14-2 on the season, clinching home field advantage and that first round bye. I just don't see the Ravens giving that up. The biggest problem, I think, is going to be the Bills here. But who knows? The Browns and Steelers with those divisional games could always go either way. So that's what I got for you. I got the Ravens finishing number 1, Patriots 2, Texans 3, Chiefs 4, Bills 5, and Steelers number 6. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who do you think is getting into the dance, the playoff dance that we're about to see over in January? I'm very excited. Let me know what you think. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout out and thank you to all Patreon members or at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be streaming tonight. Be there. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.